Ambition is one of the most powerful but underrated forces shaping our world. How the most ambitious individuals of the coming decades choose to spend their lives will have enormous impact on our species' future. So it's important to ask how we can shape the incentives that will govern the future of ambition. What can we do to align the goals of the most ambitious with humanity's common good? The future of ambition can be understood only by understanding its history. The history of ambition is the story of individuals seeking ever greater leverage to amplify the impact of their actions. For this reason, it's also a history of social technologies, ideas, institutions, and mechanisms that allow someone influence beyond their immediate person. The idea that history tends towards some fixed endpoint is always dangerous. Nevertheless, we can detect three broad trends in the history of ambition that seem likely to shape its future: ever greater scale, ever fewer barriers to entry, and, less certainly alas, ever more positive impact. First, we see that the social technologies of ambition tend towards enabling ever greater reach. Tribal politics may have been the first such technology, and it gave its wielder influence over a few hundred others. Much later, the rise of bureaucracies gave those at the top power over millions. Today, the internet gives ambitious entrepreneurs influence over billions. That's one reason that entrepreneurship has become a powerful magnet for ambitious people globally over the last decade. Second, there's been a general, if imperfect, trend towards meritocracy. The barriers that prevent ambitious people reaching their goals are gradually falling away. A millennium ago, it was difficult for anyone, no matter how talented, who was not born into power to acquire it. Kings were the sons of kings, and so on down the social hierarchy. In this sense, the emergence of the idea of the career was a progressive milestone. The potential for advancement through merit and achievement began to erode the ultimate gatekeeper, hereditary privilege. Medieval and early modern history tells us rare but remarkable stories of extraordinary individuals, the Cardinal Wolseys and the Thomas Cromwells, who were born nobodies but gained sovereign-like power. Though many structural barriers and injustices remain, developments of the last few centuries, universal education, democratic forms of government, have accelerated the trend towards meritocracy. Again, this has reached a new apogee with the emergence of the internet. That much of the world's knowledge is now available globally at no or minimal cost is important. So is the growing opportunity to participate socially and economically, irrespective of where you are. Most importantly, the internet is the first means of production with which you can build a large business without large amounts of capital on day one. Entrepreneurship has been an important social technology of ambition for at least 2 centuries. But until recently, access to capital was a forbidding gatekeeper. The difference is not one for which my industry, venture capital, can claim much credit. It's simply that the capital costs of starting an internet business are a fraction of those of starting a factory. It's striking that the 2 most valuable businesses of the internet era were founded in bedrooms and garages by relative outsiders, albeit quite privileged ones. As software gradually eats the world, we can expect many more types of businesses to follow this pattern. Third, and more controversially, the impact of ambition has generally become more positive over time. For a long period, the history of ambition was a history of violence. For many centuries, the most obvious way for an individual to achieve scale was to climb a hierarchy: a state, a church, an army that granted coercive powers. As thinkers from Adam Smith onwards have noted, one of the triumphs of the modern world is that so much ambition is channeled into building products and services that people want, rather than conquering one another. This is not to be complacent. Businesses can do great harm as well as great good. Far too much energy today is put into extracting rather than creating value. But it is undoubtedly a positive development that few of the world's most ambitious individuals today aspire to raise an army. What might these 3 trends, greater scale, fewer barriers, more positive impact, tell us about the future of ambition? The positive reading goes like this. The future of ambition is one in which millions of brilliant people globally, historically excluded from the global economy, have the opportunity and incentive to harness ever more powerful technologies to solve some of our species and our planet's most important problems. Impressive progress in areas like artificial intelligence and synthetic biology gives ambitious individuals the tool, again at falling capital cost, to build products and services that we can scarcely imagine today. Of course, a much darker reading is possible too. The combination of ambition and such powerful technologies could allow the world's winners to pull ever further ahead of everyone else and create anti-competitive barriers rather than valuable services. Even worse, we can imagine a future in which these trends put dangerous and destabilizing technologies, from powerful AI to the ability to engineer pandemics, into the hands of private actors. How do we make the first story more likely than the second? History shows us that social and economic incentives are powerful in shaping what ambitious people do with their lives. We want the most ambitious people in our societies to be engaged in positive-sum games, where we all benefit from their energies. We need tax codes and regulation that incentivize building over rent-seeking, that is, extracting rather than creating value. We need to raise the social and cultural status of science, engineering, and entrepreneurship. We need to make it economically attractive to pursue solutions to the world's most challenging problems, like climate change. And we need to develop new models of ownership, perhaps global public goods, to ensure that pivotal technologies can't be monopolized by individual actors. For millennia, the history of ambition was an unhappy one for humanity, one of violence and domination. For all its dark sides, the last 2 centuries have shown a glimpse of what the future of ambition could be. The world's brightest minds engaged in solving its biggest problems. It's far from inevitable, but it's in our power to shape it.